right. Welcome to the Alley Report. Elford Alley, and it's part of the Service Department. And today we're talking with Ron McGillvray. Um, and yeah, very excited about this. Why don't you introduce yourself to our illustrious viewers?
My name is Ronald McGillvray. I'm a writer from Ottawa, Canada. I write mostly horror, dark fantasy kind of things, although I've dabbled in other things, but that seems to be my go-to. That's the stories are usually sort of what if based, so it just seems
Yeah,
to lend itself to that sort of genre. So I like to always place myself in a situation, go, what would I do in a situation like that, and then and run with it. So
yeah. I noticed like all the covers of your books, they have like there's the visible fantasy element to them, like kind of horror
yeah.
fantasy, like somewhere between
Yeah.
Amazing Stories and Twilight Zone.
Yeah, yeah. Well, yes, a lot. Twilight Zone's it's been compared a lot to Twilight Zone because my stories are kind of strange. They have like twists at the end, and the it was a local graphic artist that I talked to that decided to do it, and I had an idea what I wanted for the book cover, and I guess just like my story ideas, they're very busy. I was like, well, I want like a path, and I want this, and I want that, and so she'd worked on it for a while and came up with that, and I kind of thought, well, I really like that cover for Tales for Parkland. So we discussed for future books, maybe do it sort of that same look kind of
Yeah,
thing. So
yeah.
it's almost like a brand, almost.
And that's good to do because I think I've noticed that lately, Amazon kind of they'll switch up their search results. You'll search for a specific author, but they're going to put some other people in the middle of
Yeah,
that. So I feel like if you have that, that look, that style, everybody
yeah,
instantly picks you out.
yeah. Well, I'm hoping. I'm hoping. I haven't been able to buy that mansion or my yacht yet, but yeah.
Same.
One day.
Um, one day, and I know Tales from the Parkland. You have that's going to be re-released soon through Velix Books.
Yeah, I'm excited about that. It comes out June 7th, I believe. It's it was my first collection, and it got fairly good reviews. I was very happy with it, and then to have someone, an American publisher say we'd like to re-release
Yeah.
it was kind of affirmation that maybe you're doing something right.
Well, yeah.
And goes,
I mean, I've read it. It's a great collection.
thank you.
And very much the Twilight Zone impact comes across, but still absolutely its own thing in your own style.
I guess for me, I basically write for myself now. It's what would interest me. I know I can't remember. I always, when if I'm on a podcast, something someone asks me, what do you know, what got you started there? There's this line that someone said, a quote, and I always say I got to remember who said it, and I never remember who said it, but it was basically if there's a story that you want to read and you can't find it, write it,
Yeah.
and I wish I could think, but that's what I do. I go, and it's usually sparked by something. I could be watch something like little shorts like Night of the Living Dead, which is one of my favorite movies. You're watching something, and something that they've done will trigger a new idea, and I'm
Yeah.
like, oh, I wonder if someone did that. You search for it, you go, no, and that's how usually my stories work. I go, well, I guess I'll write it. So
Yeah, there's always that whenever you watch like a really good horror movie or something, you're like, I wonder if they'd went this direction, or if there's something this I want to see more of, and you
yeah,
can kind of make
yeah.
that your own.
Yeah. So that's what I do. I don't write for the market or anything. I can't. I mean, I've been invited to write for anthologies and stuff, and I find that the toughest for me when someone says, we want to write something about the Loch Ness monster, and I'm like flattered someone would think of me but then I try writing it, and I'm just like literally because I never have like writer's block. I've been very lucky, and there's always I have sheets. You can see probably I'm trying to look at my screen over that way.
Yeah.
I have like an idea board and stuff, and I have lots of ideas. Yet when someone asks me for something particular, I completely freeze up. I'm like, I cannot even think of anything for a Loch Ness monster.
Yeah.
I
And
don't
you
know
probably have something
why.
right behind you.
Yeah, yeah. So for me, I generally I just more comfortable. writing ideas that are of interest to me.
Yeah, I
So
mean, if you chase the market, I feel like you end up just a little bit behind. So by the time your
yeah,
thing comes out, everybody's like, "Well, we're over this. This was 3 years ago. Where were you then?"
yeah, I know. Yeah, so I don't know. It's writing's a funny game because it's so solitary, you know. You're trying to think of what people would like to write. So it's I guess it would be I mean, I'm quite a bit older now. But if I was starting in my 20s, you know, when you have the dream you want to be a Stephen King, it's more daunting because you do kind of think, should I write more for the market? Or, you
Yeah,
know, because you want to do it as a you know, a career, hopefully, or something, if that's, you know, what they do. Because I see, you know, a lot of authors who will write a book or whatever, and then if it doesn't really catch on, you know, they just you see them just by the posts and stuff, it seems to become more depressed at the situation, and
yeah,
then they just disappear, you know, kind of
yeah.
thing. So
I've
where
had that
for
more than
me,
once where I've met an author, they write something great, and it doesn't become an overnight success, and they vanish. And it's
yeah,
like, no, you just had to keep working at it. Like, where did you
yeah,
go? Like, you did
yeah.
something good.
I know. It's well, there's no get rich quick,
Yeah,
unless of course you're lucky and somebody like picks up your book and makes it into a movie.
yeah,
Because that's the real money. I've had discussions with other authors and stuff, and it's like, I mean, even with like Stephen King, who I guess I'd have to say really got me hooked when I was a young kid. I
oh,
mean,
same.
I was handed Carrie, and I didn't really. I'll be honest, I didn't really understand much of it. It was a funny style, and the whole women's aspect of it. I was like just a kid, and but when uh, Salem's Lot came out, that blew me away. You know, I
Yeah,
was just like, and I started searching for other things because actually the first horror book I ever read was The Rats by James Herbert, and I just reread it, and it's still creepy. You know, the whole
that's one I haven't
idea
read yet.
that it's just the whole idea of, you know, it's rats climbing out everywhere and stuff. And you know, yeah, I don't know. It's but all the authors are the same. But like Stephen King, if De Palma hadn't have bought Carrie, you know, and made it into a
Yeah,
movie, maybe he would have been just like us. Like the Carrie did well, Salem's Lot certainly did well, but you know, it's the movie business is such a marketing monster.
yeah,
So when you think about it, it's just like there's a lot of the big authors that, you know, well, they might be just like us, you
yeah. But
know,
then they get
they're
the shot. They don't need the day job anymore. They can put everything they
exactly.
have into their work. And so it's
Yeah,
there's sometimes I'll read a book where author wrote one and then vanished. And it's like, what if they'd been given that opportunity? What else would they've
yeah,
created? What else
yeah,
was there?
I
Kind
know.
of a
So
heartbreaking thought trail to
yeah,
go down.
yeah, yeah. It's so you know, well, I mean, it does, you know, it separates, I guess, the weak from the strong kind of thing. Because
Yeah,
if you if you like writing, and because I've always done it as a hobby, and I mean, I could pull out boxes of stuff that I've written that I shudder, you know, to think about like what it was I thinking, you know, and but you know, it was a cool idea, and I wrote it out, and it wasn't any good, but you know, it's
yeah, I have,
if you like doing it, that's a good hobby. You know, it's
yeah.
cheaper than skiing.
That's true. You're less likely to break a bone. Like,
Yeah,
um,
exactly.
yeah, no, I have the same thing. I have the boxes of stories and books that I wrote in my 20s when I thought I was awesome. They will never, you
Yeah,
never. I don't know why I can't bring myself to get rid of them, but like
yeah,
I'm horrified at the thought of anybody reading them. But I don't know. I can't part with them for some reason.
I know. Well, you never know because there was something that interested you at the time.
Yeah,
So there's probably a germ of an idea there that you might be able to pull from
and I've done
later
that
on.
before. Like you see
Yeah,
something, it's like, oh, you were on the verge of something, you little idiot, but you just didn't figure it out because you were 22. So like I'm
yeah,
40-year-old me's gonna take this now and make this something worth reading.
yeah, yeah. Well, that's the thing. So, I mean, I'm a pack rat. It's like I have stuff. I'm looking around my place and here in my office, and it's just like garbage everywhere. That's why I have when I do my podcast, I face this way so no one can actually see what a mess everything else is
Because
around
right now it's
here.
like an organized chaos, and
Yeah, yeah. Even that, it's like you can see I like to be feel closed in. It's like I have like every square inch has got something
yeah,
on the walls or on the counters. So because
like a blank
anything can
wall is as
trigger.
scary as a blank page.
Yeah, exactly.
Um, uh,
So
okay, I saw the Who little Who poster behind you, and I did love on your website that your career trajectory is based on different phases of the Who. Like at this time, this was happening with the Who.
yeah, yeah. Love the Who is my band. I mean, up here you probably can't see it. There's a Tommy when I was in New York City. I saw the Tommy on Broadway. I got the poster from the actual the Broadway show is up there. I have the Who thing over here, but yeah, I have all their albums, CDs. I
Yeah,
just
that was my
love
first
the
concert.
Who. Oh, really?
Yeah, 1999. First band I saw live
Wow,
was the Who.
wow. Well, there you go. You started off with a bang.
Yeah, exactly. It was a great show.
Yeah, yeah,
Pete Townsend just getting belligerent and yelling at people in the front row. It was fantastic.
yeah, yeah. He's special. But yeah, there. I mean, people either like the Who or they don't like the Who. You know, some people. I have friends that I don't know. I don't understand it, but for me, especially when I was younger, it was just the energy that they pounded out
Yeah.
just was for me. So I guess now it's all like muscle memory, it's just like I loved them then, so I just love them now. The songs, when I hear something I can recall dates and times from my past. But yeah, then it was my hair was longer then, wasn't receding like it is now, but had my curls, it was down,
Oh, that's
not like
awesome.
not quite like Roger, but yeah, yeah, love the Who.
Um, well, so I was like, you've gone through a thing where I think a lot of writers have, especially ones that are career focused, where like, you were writing, you were doing good, and then personal stuff happens, and you have like that gap, and like you were kind of like not writing for a good decade.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah.
so what's it like coming back for like shutting off that part of yourself and then coming back to it 10 years later? Like,
Um, well, it was a gradual thing. I mean, like we were talking earlier, it was I did it for myself kind of thing. It wasn't like, oh, I got to sell a book or I'm going to lose my house and something like that.
yeah,
It started I had well, you have a family and stuff like that, and then you have my son started playing competitive soccer, so we were doing a lot of travel with that. And then there was a whole upheaval at this one place where I worked, and they closed up shop, which was a big traumatic mess. And I couldn't get any writing done because I'm not one of those people who can write under pressure, where some people say
yeah,
they can, oh, I need everything last minute. I don't. I need utter quiet. Like that's another thing people do. They talk about, what album you're listening to when you're writing. Oh, I listen to Judas Priest. I'm like, how can you even do that? My wife vacuums up here and I'm like, what are you doing? I can't concentrate with the vacuum on. So I don't even remember what the question was.
oh,
I get sidetracked.
well, it's perfect. It's like, like podcast interview, like sidetrack. That's what 90% of it is. Like,
Yeah, yeah. So,
um, yeah, it was just
what
about,
were we
like
talking about?
coming because I feel like you've done quite a bit since you've come back. Like,
Oh,
Cutter's Deep,
that's
Tales
right.
of Parkland.
Yeah, well, that's what it was. It was because I couldn't write when everything was going wrong. So I took it was end up 10 years. I didn't actually think I'd write again, but I was doing stuff for like film work as well because I was doing screenplays and stuff, and uh working as a collaboration I found was a big nightmare because I mean I had one film where, and because as a writer, if someone asks you, we want to work on a film, you're the one up front, right? You're doing
Yeah,
all the work at the front. And then this one film was, and then the actress, the main actress in it, started having this argument with his boyfriend that came on the set, and the boyfriend didn't like that she was having these night shoots, and of course it's horror, so most of it's shot at night. And then so she ended up, well, I don't want to lose my relationship, so she was gone. And then they were, well, we're going to reconfigure stuff, and then everything just like literally collapsed in on itself. And I was like, this is BS. It's like it's because they always talk you into, well, we'll give you a bit up front, but you're going to get stuff. We're all going to share. And then, well, there's never any trickle down
Yeah.
economics when it comes to that. They always work it away. So, I didn't really mind the break. I was just like, I was tired of it that way. But as a hobby, I kind of, I'd tinker around and I had, like, we were talking about trunk stories. And I guess uh, COVID was coming, or COVID had happened. And as bad as it was a good thing for writers because we're you get to sit inside and write.
Hmm.
And I thought, well, I'm going to pull some of these old short stories that I excuse me, hadn't finished, and I started just tinkering around with those. And some of them I really liked, and I wrote a few extras, and I thought, well, I'm going to put them in a collection because now with the advent of with Amazon, and they control like 80 to 90% of the market, I thought, well, maybe I'll put it out. If nothing else, I'll have a name, my book with my name on it that I can put in a shelf, and my son can have it when I'm gone,
Yeah.
kind of thing. And my name will live on. But I put it out, and I wasn't on social media either. So my son helped me get on social media. So this is all happening around, 2000, started building. Uh, and I guess Tales just started to take off, I guess word of mouth or whatever. And I thought, oh, people actually like my style,
Yeah.
type of thing. And I had these stories that we used to tell my son. Sort of, it was like, you know, trying to give him advice, without being preachy. So we're like, set goals, don't judge book by your cover. There's no such thing as failure unless you quit. So that's how James' Journey to Dreamland came around. And so I wrote that, published that, and actually I was I just shot a video for a class that was in oh my God, I can't believe it, Minnesota. So they had read it. Some classroom in Minnesota had read this book in class, and they asked if I would come on and do a video talk about the book and the stuff. And I was just like, it still boggles my mind, how they, you know, with I guess the internet and everything, how people in far-reaching places can, find your stuff.
Yeah.
So it gave me a bit of boost thinking, okay, well, maybe I'll try a novel. And so that's how Cutter's Deep came about. That was hard because I usually write I write sort of shorter works or like a screenplay. To do this novel, it was a long haul, but that was something that I wanted to do. It was kind of like once again, it was a personal thing. I just want to say like a checklist. So I did Cutter's Deep, and I was nervous about that one because the other two had done fairly well, and I was thinking the reviews were all positive, and I thought, well, this is a bit bizarre, crazy ride. I thought, what are people going to do? But I've been lucky again with that one, so I figured, well, I got my novel, I got a novella, I got my short story collection. I'm happy. But I had some other unfinished business with Cutter's Deep, and I had a whole other idea. So I blended this one idea with some characters from Cutter's Deep just to kind of because people had questions who read Cutter's Deep.
Yeah.
It was a final ending, but they were like, "Well, what happened? What happened?" So I thought I'll come up with some wrap it up, but in another story. So my fourth no, our next fourth book is coming out hopefully this fall, wraps up everything, but in a completely different standalone.
Yeah.
So it'll be interesting. But after that, I think that'll be my last novel because that takes a lot out of me. I think from there I'll go back to, novels, novellas, which I personally think are more suited for horror.
Yeah.
Unless you write shorter horror, because to drag on, uh, it's hard to keep the fear and the build for such a long kind of
Yeah.
time. But we'll see. I say
Plus,
lots of things and I do something completely different. So
Yeah, well, I mean, and plus with novellas, it seems like that's also become with the rising cost of printing and stuff with small presses. That's kind of
Yeah,
become the preferred. Like, it's like we can put everything behind one novel, or we could like have few novellas come out from different writers. And
right.
um, I'm glad to hear that Tales from the Parkland did well because I personally am a huge fan of short story collections, and I feel like that should be the next big. I feel like with everyone's attention span shot, like short story collections, they should be
Yeah,
selling more.
I know. Yeah, yeah. It's I guess it's tough because it's what I mean, a collection, if like you did a collection or I did a collection or you know, it's interesting because you can see that writer's style. What I
Yeah,
think probably turned a lot of people away is you read, like I used to read a lot of anthologies and stuff, or the supposed best ofs.
yeah,
And I don't know, maybe their interests are much different than mine, but I was kind of like, I don't know how that made best of, because I read this one
yeah,
story and it's way better than anything that's in this collection. And I think a lot of people just like they read these anthologies and they're like, maybe they just, because everyone wants a big name, you
yeah,
know. So then anthology, it's like, they go, well, I got Ron McGillvray, or I got Superstar Joe. So it's
yeah,
like, we'll go Superstar Joe. But Superstar Joe could have been just thrown in a trunk story because they asked, well, could you please throw something in? They're like, yeah, yeah, here you
yeah.
go.
Because Superstar has probably a few more than one anthology for sure that's asking them. It's like I gotta send them something.
Exactly. And the best ones that he has, he's keeping for himself for his own collection that he'll be
Yeah,
putting out or she'll be putting out. And so yeah, a lot of people read these anthologies and were just like, because you always read the reviews and it's like, it was really hit and miss. I like this story, it's really good, but this story was garbage. And it's like, so a lot of people are like, yeah, I'm not gonna waste my money on anthology because there's
yeah,
it's too many hits and misses. So if I'm gonna buy a collection, I'd much prefer to do a collection of one person, because then you can see that person, all the different styles they have, or if it's the same kind of writing style, well then that works out well too. And with Amazon, you can do the look inside, which is
mhm.
so handy. I don't know how many people take advantage of that. But that's what I, because everyone's always talking about the book covers really catch your idea. That's what sells me on that thing. Literally, book covers mean nothing to me. So obviously I'm really outside on that one because it's just, I look at the sort of story idea, I see the title, um and then I'm going, if it's of interest, like I always, it's a synopsis that has, I'll see something and I'll go, oh, that's interesting. I directly go to look inside and I read to see the first couple of pages or whatever. If I like the style, how it's going. And
Yeah. Because
I
I've
often wonder, go ahead.
oh yeah, because I'll say I've been fooled by a really nice cover more than once. Where it's like,
Yeah,
oh, look at that cover, like, and you get it's like, I mean, it's okay, like these stories are all right, and then someone like I've had someone send me want me to read their story collection and give them feedback on it, and it's the worst fucking cover, but the stories are brilliant, and it's like you need a better cover or people are not gonna people are not gonna read it because these are so
yeah,
good.
yeah, yeah. Well, see, that can be solved because we're all starving artists. It's costs a lot for a cover.
Yeah,
You put something out, you get some feedback, and because you always doubt yourself. So well, this is what my budget is. I'm going to put it out, but it gets some good feedback. You can always rebrand it with a new cover. Like, oh, I think this might be it. I'm going to invest and get a new cover.
yeah.
So that could be done. Get new eyes on it, but
Which
you can get a
I've
great
absolutely
cover.
done. Like my first
Yeah,
couple of short story collections had dog shit covers, and I like
yeah,
redid those later on. I was like, and at that point, it was like four people have bought this. It's not going to hurt anything to change all this up real quick.
yeah, yeah. Because I mean, I have thought a lot of, and I don't know. I've never really done much looking into it, but I was wondering if there'd be a market if you didn't do a collection, if you just wrote a short story. And I mean, my short stories tend to be a bit longer because I'm long-winded, apparently. So I said, what if you just sold like short stories for like 99 cents and just did instead of a collection? So I've always kind of been intrigued by trying that.
See, I
Just
think
right.
you could because I've seen like Kurt Phillips just put out a story called Noise Ordinance, and it's probably about 30 equivalent of 30 pages, and
Yeah,
he put it out on its own for 99 cents. And like I think you could do that. I think it's like if you have about that 25 30 page range. Now, I've only seen people do that in support of other stuff, so I don't know if like you can build everything on that, but
yeah,
I don't to me it sounds like a good idea.
yeah. It would just seem like you wouldn't have to wait, because I was thinking, well, I'll write a short story, then another short story, and then once I have enough, put it into a collection, boom. But I was thinking, well, I finished a short story. I want it out in the world,
Yeah.
you know? Now, of course, probably the covers wouldn't be that great there because who's going to spend all the money for a cover for a short
Yeah.
story kind of thing? So there is that point. But if you had something that was like, you have to do something really simple, like Catcher in the Rye, just go story by Ron and have it just
Yeah.
like red book, like a red cover, and that's it kind of thing. 99 cents. Because I mean, who can't afford 99 cents? You want to read
Yeah.
something this evening? That was it. Just plug them out there. And then if they want, then after you've done them all, you can put them all together in a collection, resell them again.
Yeah, I might do that. I'm just gonna
Yeah.
call it Ron McGillvray method. That's what I'm gonna call it.
Yeah. The Ron McGillvray method. Yeah. I get lots of hate mail now. Yeah, I tried your method. You suck. It's like, so sorry. It was just an idea that popped in my head. But yeah, because I look for them because sometimes you're working on something, but you want to see like oh, I'm stuck, or you want to see someone who's written something kind of the same.
Yeah.
So I'm kind of like, I just want to see how did they approach it. So I like punch in the sort of story idea, Google it, see if there's anything like that, just to sort of see what they've done. And I go, why aren't there like just short stories like that? I wish I could just find like a one short story and just like purchase it kind of thing.
Yeah.
So maybe there's a whole market there to be had.
I mean, as soon as this call ends,
Yeah,
yeah, they're
yeah,
just like, all right, I gotta whip up some covers in Canva real quick.
yeah. So,
Oh well,
but
well, thank you again for coming on here and
it
chatting
was
with
my
me
pleasure.
and yeah, and Tales from the Parkland is out June 7th.
Yeah, yeah. Be out June 7th. Feel free to pre-order it now.
Yeah, pre-order. It's a great collection. I read it, gave it a 5-star review. It earned it.
Yeah,
Like, so-
yeah,
well,
yeah.
thank you so much.
My pleasure. Have a great day.
All right, you too.